Hi there, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm excited to try out a new format of content where we're going to be watching through a competition boulder together, and I'm going to comment on it throughout. And I personally love watching climbing competitions, both from a climber's perspective and a coach's perspective. I think there's a lot to be learned from watching these high-level athletes compete in this format. And as a coach, I do primarily work with climbers who are training for their outdoor goals, and it might seem counterintuitive about, okay, what can we really learn from this dynamic parkour style of climbing and apply it to outdoor climbing? They seem like completely two different sports. But I do believe that there is a necessary skill set, a necessary foundation of skills that these athletes have to have in order to compete in this highly intense and concentrated format of climbing. This type of climbing really tests these athletes' ability to learn quickly, to make decisions quickly, and to be creative to find solutions. And these are all things that are useful for us no matter what type of climbing that we choose to participate in. An analogy that I really like that I've heard about competition climbing is that it's kind of like comparing it to cooking, where normally chefs have all this time to experiment with different recipes and refine it until they finally have their finished product, versus a competition cooking show where they're given a basket of 5 completely random ingredients and are asked to create something tasty in 15 minutes. And the comparison can kind of be made with climbing, where normally with outdoor climbing, a lot of us tend to project. We find a climb, we work on it for a really long time, and in competition climbing, they get 4 or 5 minutes to try a boulder they've never seen before, they haven't seen anyone else on it before, they have no beta for, and try and execute in this short period of time. And like I said, there is a necessary foundation of skills that go into being able to climb in a competition, just as you would need to have skills to be able to take 5 random ingredients and make something taste good. They are different sports. I'm not saying that all of us need to go out and be competition climbers, but again, I think there is an argument to be made for us being able to learn things from watching these athletes. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I chose the first women's finals boulders from the recent USA Climbing National Team Trials, and I really loved this boulder for a couple of reasons. One, there were kind of multiple cruxes throughout, and we also saw multiple solutions to each of these cruxes throughout. So here we're starting with Annalise, and we can see right off the bat they're given a dyno, a complicated dyno, where they're pressing with one hand and grabbing with the other hand. And one thing I found interesting about this move is almost all the athletes came out and tried the same exact beta of right hand pressing down, left hand up. And so this one I would say is less of a test of being able to read beta and get creative, and more of a test of how quickly they can learn. How much are they learning from each attempt? How much can they refine between attempts? Here we can see Annalise sticks this move on her 3rd try. She learned it very quickly. She made the adjustments needed. And now we're getting into the second crux of the boulder, which is this transition from this press and getting their body and feet, hips over to the left here. So it's a transitional crux, a movement crux of moving from left to right. They're forced to lead with their hands, and so what you can see is Annalise's hips are lagging back to the right, and she has to figure out a way to get over to this next crimp on the volume to the left. And there's a lot of momentum, a lot of tension that she's releasing through this move, and so the solving this puzzle comes down to how can you make that transition. So she's looking at this boulder, she's trying to figure out, okay, what do I want to try next? Are there any adjustments that I want to make? Do I try the same beta? Do I try something else? Again, it's cool to watch these athletes' thought process. You can see she's taking a lot of time to think through it, and it looks like she's made her decision. So she's getting back on. What you can see is she sticks that next move again, she learned it the first time and is able to execute it really well now. So the second crux is more of a beta finding, getting creative crux, trying to problem solve. So here what we can see Annalise does is she brings her right hand down to release her right foot, and this allows her to move her feet to the left and keep her hips straight under her, and it's making this transition carry a lot less momentum. It's much more controlled that way. So she found a really good solution through that, was able to get across, and was able to finish the boulder. All right, on to the second athlete. This is Melina. So here we're watching her on this first move again, this first dyno. And what we can see is she goes for that same exact beta, left hand up, right hand down, and pressing. So again, it seems like either they all talked it through and decided that that was the way, or it just naturally lends itself to naturally trying to hold that position. So that was her second attempt. She went pretty quickly between her first and second attempts, and she's hopping right back on again. So it seems like the strategy she's taking here is to keep trying the move and keep gaining more information the more times she tries the move. This time she tries something different. She went left hand down, right hand up. So she tried two different options. Now we'll see if she decided if she liked one better than the other, if she's going to stick with that later method or go back to the first method that she tried. And she goes back to the first method, so that to me says that the information she got from reversing the hands, she decided that she felt closer with that initial method, and she wants to try it that way moving forward. I believe this is her fifth attempt, and she sticks the move this time. So didn't learn it quite as quickly as Annalise did, but was still able to get it done. Now she's moving into the second crux of the boulder. Again, the crux here is this transition from right to left because they have to lead with their upper body. Their hips get left behind to the right. And we can see she lost tension there and barn doored off. I think maybe she tried to move a little bit too quickly or thought she could maintain that tension. So again, we can see she's looking at the boulder like Annalise did previously and taking note of the information she gained and making any adjustments in her head of potential other solutions to try. All right, she fell on that attempt. So again, we can see that if we're comparing the two athletes, that Annalise was able to learn and repeat that move a little bit more reliably. All right, this is attempt number 7. This time she's able to stick the move, so many fewer attempts than the first time before she stuck the move the first time around. She's back into the second crux. This time she moves her right foot up. It looks like that's a much better foothold, so able to maintain that tension through the right foot much better than the lower hold. And here she's trying to figure out a different solution for releasing that tension, trying to get her hips over to the left a little bit more. But unfortunately, she ran out of time. It looked like that could work. Here we're on to our third athlete, Adrienne. Back to the first move. We'll see what method she tries and how quickly she's able to execute this move. All right, so there she's trying the opposite of what the other athletes did. She's going right hand high, left hand low. So flip-flopped. Let's see if she tries that again or if she tries the other method that the other athletes used. All right, she tried the other method, so right hand down, left hand up. So again, we've seen both of these methods tried. The first two athletes stuck with the left hand up, right hand down, and let's see what Adrienne decides which method she'd prefer. All right, she went back to her initial method, she tried that same method again, left hand up, right hand down. So again, we're seeing just how quickly these athletes have to process the information that they're getting from each attempt, and then having to make a decision of what they're going to try next time, and possibly even, making those decisions in the moment when they're on the wall. All right, she sticks it this time. I might be mistaken. That is the same method that the others used. I'll double check myself. All right, here she's into the second crux. Moves the right foot up to get that tension. Let's see how she solves this problem of transitioning from right to left. She goes for the big swing. She's able to control it okay, and then finishes it off. All right, here is our next athlete. This is Quinn. Again, we can see what method she tries. All right, she tries the same beta that the other athletes use, left hand up, right hand down. And here she goes for a double dyno. She skips the press altogether, and this is something that I think is really cool about the boulders that do allow for different solutions, is we get to see the athletes express themselves a little bit more. We can see them express their strengths, and just see the different ways that they solve the boulder. So maybe Quinn is really great at double clutches, and after that first attempt was like, wait, I think I can go both hands to that, and quickly made that adjustment and was able to stick it. Right back into the second crux, and we'll see what solution she opts for. Here she tries to go down, kind of like Melina did, to try and move that left foot out, decides that she doesn't like that. And goes for the big swing like Adrienne did. Is able to control it okay. We can even see that this finish move, she's doing it differently than how Adrienne did. Adrienne went just straight up right hand, and Quinn decided to match and go left hand, which is what Annalise also did. All right, on to Nikaya. So the commentators did mention in the live stream that Nikaya is a bit shorter than the other athletes, and so we can see how this might change the way that she solves this boulder. But she goes for the same beta that everyone else so far has used, which is the right hand down, left hand up. Left hand up, right hand down. Here she is trying to figure out a different solution. She's getting really low, seeing if there's a static method through, but ultimately decides to go for the dyno again, and she looked pretty close there. So again, every time these athletes are trying the moves, they're recalibrating, recalculating, figuring out what they need to change in order to successfully execute it. And another interesting observation is that a lot of these athletes are getting back on really quickly, and sometimes it can just be a numbers game of, okay, if I just keep going, I'm gonna stick it one of these times. I just have to keep learning the move. I have to try this move a bunch of times to learn it. And if it's not too physically taxing, that might be a tactic they go for. I think that I remember Natalia in one of the World Cups mentioned that there was like a low percentage move, and it seemed like, at least to the viewers or the spectators, it seemed like she was just really like frantically rapid firing, but she said that she knew that that was the type of move that she had to try a lot of times in order to learn it, and so that's why she just went really quickly. And I don't remember exactly which World Cup it was from, but she did successfully stick it. And so maybe this is one of those types of moves where, okay, there she went, opposite, right hand up, left hand down. So that's the third different way that we've seen this move stuck. All right, on to the second crux. Again, she's a bit shorter, so I think that she might not be getting quite as much out of the press that the other athletes did, because she has to be more extended. So it's interesting. She is trying things differently than the other athletes, but ultimately uses the same beta, getting that right foot up, and then we'll see how she manages this transition. Being a shorter athlete, okay, she goes down for the press again. I'm wondering if, now that a few athletes have done that, there's chalk on that volume, if it's kind of inviting that more to the other athletes. But ultimately, she goes for the big swing. I was going to say, as a shorter athlete, she might be holding even more tension and creating more momentum, but she was able to navigate that just fine and execute it. And on this boulder, we've seen a lot of tops, but we've also seen a lot of attempts. So they're definitely separating the field well by the number of attempts, especially with that first dyno. It really pays off to be able to learn it quickly and execute it quickly. And here's our last athlete, Helen. So we can see her get set up, and she goes left hand up, right hand down. Again, same beta that all of them tried initially. So again, either they all read it together or it just seems like an obvious solution. All right, attempt number 2 here. Here she's leaning really far with her chest and staying really low, and is able to stick it on her second try. So that's the fastest we've seen that move executed. And on a boulder like this, it's going to pay off really well, because a lot of the other athletes racked up so many attempts. So this is a really good way that Helen is separating herself from the rest of the field. Let's see how she navigates this second crux. So she's actually getting a lot out of this press and is able to just totally walk her feet over. And she is able to statically stab her foot out left. So this is, again, the third different solution that we've seen work for this boulder. And here she decides to finish going right hand. So yeah, we've seen this boulder climbed a number of different ways. This is why I chose this one. I thought it was really neat how we could see the different athletes solve this problem, and I thought it was a really great display of the two different cruxes of learning a move quickly, not necessarily needing to figure out the beta, but just being able to learn information and execute it quickly. And then the second crux was a really good display of problem solving and coming up with creative solutions. They all were solving the same issue of having their hips way behind them to the right and needing to transition to the left. Some of them chose to use more momentum and go more dynamically, and others were able to find a way to kind of break up the movement a little bit more. So I hope that you liked this type of content. Let me know. And with more competitions coming up, I am excited to do more. Thanks for watching.